This is Paul Jenkins, and you're listening to the Reluctant Leader Podcast. Now, I believe two things are true. One, everyone leads someone. And two, no one really feels qualified to lead anyone. So maybe you feel overlooked, unqualified, invisible. But the good news is, in the Bible and in life, the most qualified aren't always the most obvious. Hey, welcome to 2023 and a new year of the podcast. If you could boil an entire year down to one word, what word would you choose? I believe that God has given me one word to focus on in 2023, and I can't wait to share it with you in this episode. As we were getting towards the end of 2022, I felt like God gave me the word proclaim. It said 2023 is the year to proclaim. And as I looked into that, studied some scriptures, this is the verse that he highlighted to me. Matthew 20, verse 27. He said, "What I tell you in the dark, speak in the daylight. What is whispered in your ear, proclaim from the roofs." And the image he showed me, the picture that I saw in my head was a megaphone. You've seen these things, like cheerleaders use them all the time. A megaphone has a small end and then a big end. You speak into the small end, and as it goes through the megaphone, the audio waves, I guess, somehow in a way that I don't understand and smarter people than me can figure out, it causes it to come out the larger end, and it's amplified, right? Sometimes what we say is, hey, actions speak louder than words, but I believe that they don't speak louder than words. Actions amplify our words, right? So he said, like, what I tell you in the dark, what is whispered in your ear, what I say to you in the small end, in private, proclaim that from the roofs. And so let me just drop three observations quickly about that simple truth from that verse. Here's the first one. We have to hear what's been whispered. I don't know if you've ever tried to listen to somebody whisper when there's a lot of noise going on around you. I know that we tend to want to stop the noise when we really want to focus, which is why in the car when you're trying to find a place to park and it's a busy Saturday at the mall, you instinctively turn the radio down or off because the noise makes it hard for you to focus and concentrate on finding that elusive parking spot, right? We got to hear what's being whispered. That means we've got to silence distractions so that we can fine-tune the signal. Psalm 46:10 says to be still and know that I am God. Can I just remind you of this, church? He's God even when we aren't still. But our knowing that He's God is directly related to being still before Him. Make sure you silence the distractions so that you can hear what is being whispered. First, we must hear what's been whispered. Second, we proclaim what we've heard. 1 John 1:1 says, that which was from the beginning, which we have heard, which we have seen with our eyes, which we have looked at and our hands have touched, this we proclaim concerning the word of life. So we don't proclaim what we hope. We proclaim what we know. I mean, that God told me that this is a year when we're going to move from hoping into knowing. You tend to tell people privately what you're hoping for, but man, you tend to proclaim publicly what you know. Think about this. You might tell a few people that you hope you get a new car for your birthday, but if you actually got a new car for your birthday, and I mean like a nice, loaded, premium package car, you would be telling everybody. You might even beep the horn as you pass by them so that they'll turn and look. We hope quietly and sometimes in private, but we proclaim loudly and in public what we know. So third, proclaim it loud and far. He didn't say what's whispered in your ear, whisper to somebody else. He said what's whispered in your ear, proclaim it from the rooftops. We proclaim from the rooftops what we know. So here's what we have to do first. We gotta position ourselves to hear it, and then we've got to position ourselves to proclaim it. I felt like God said this to me as I was preparing for the year. He said in 2023, Paul, if you will position yourself before me in prayer, I'll position you before men in power. Sometimes I think we're working really hard to get positioned before men, and God says, no, 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 no. Why don't you position yourself before me in prayer? And then I'll take care of your position before men. This is the year to proclaim the good news that we have heard, that we have seen, that we have touched, that we have experienced, the good news that we have proven and now know. And one final thought as we wrap this very first episode, admittedly a short episode, but this is just a teaser, right, for the rest of the year that's coming. One more thought. Where is the good news that we proclaim? Where is it proven? It's proven, 1 Peter 1:7 tells us, in the fire. Which means that you might be in a trial right now. I got good news. I can proclaim good news to you. That fire is refining you and refining your voice. And when you come out of that fire, you're going to be able to proclaim loudly and boldly about who God is and what He's done. Maybe you've come through a fire. You feel like, man, the last couple of years were a trial for me, but God's taken me into a place this year where I'm stepping out and my clothes don't even smell like smoke. That's what you proclaim. You don't proclaim that God just met you in the fire. You also proclaim that He brought you through the fire. And you let people know that are still in it, that there is victory on the other side of it. Listen, thank you so much for taking part in this episode. I pray that it's encouraging. I pray that this causes you to want to dig in even deeper with the Lord in 2023, to quiet yourself and hear what He's whispering, and then proclaim it, shout it from the rooftops, not just with your life, but with your words as well. I'm Paul, and I'm so thankful that you joined me for this episode of the Reluctant Leader Podcast. I can't wait to hang out again soon. You've been listening to the Reluctant Leader Podcast. Thanks so much for being a part of this conversation. You can follow us at thereluctantleaderpodcast.com or wherever you download your podcasts. Be sure that you subscribe and like us and leave us a rating and a comment. We'd love to hear from you and hear what God's showing you. And remember this, no matter how reluctant you feel, keep saying yes, and He'll do the rest.